black belt instructor invited a humble black woman to spar just as a joke. Yet what followed left the entire dojo speechless. Often the quietest individuals hold the most astonishing secrets. Tyler Graham was about to discover why appearances can be so deceiving. Rachel Johnson pushed open the heavy glass door of Master Kim's martial arts academy, her worn sneakers softly squeaking on the polished floor. The familiar mix of sweat, herbal scents, and fierce focus greeted her as she stepped inside. Though she visited every week to pick up Mia, she always felt a unique blend of comfort and eagerness the moment she entered. The large training hall shone under cold white light from rows of fluorescent lamps above, revealing the wide blue mats where numerous students of all ages practiced endless drills. Sharp commands rang out from the instructor's corner, mixing with the sound of feet hitting the floor and ragged breathing after each intense strike. In the distant corner, Rachel quickly found her 16-year-old daughter, Mia. She was deeply focused on a series of martial arts moves with several other students, her expression serious and eyes glowing with enthusiasm. Watching her daughter's commitment brought a tender smile to Rachel's face. "Mom!" Mia called out upon seeing her mother, waving excitedly. Her cheeks glowed from the physical effort, yet her smile remained as brilliant as ever. Rachel responded with a soft smile that revealed her humble character. At 38, she wore no makeup. Her dark curls, streaked with early silver, were gathered simply into a ponytail. A worn gray shirt and old sweatpants helped her blend among the group of parents standing along the walls. "Take your time, sweetheart," Rachel called out, waving Mia back to her practice. Then she settled on a bench by the wall. Pulling out her phone, she scrolled through her work emails, but constantly lifted her eyes to observe how martial arts had transformed her formerly timid daughter into a much more self-assured and bold young girl. A loud command from the far side of the hall caught Rachel's attention. She glanced up to see Tyler Graham leading a group of more advanced students. Tall and muscular, he wore a spotless white GI with a shiny black belt. Pride and confidence shone from his face, yet Rachel also noticed a flicker of impatience in his gaze whenever he looked at the students of color struggling with the more difficult techniques. "Kick higher, Jason. Am I running a preschool here?" Tyler snapped, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Chuckles of discomfort escaped from some students near him, but Rachel saw the pain briefly flicker across the young black boy's face as he lowered his head and continued, his spirit clearly dampened. Rachel's lips pressed into a frown, a tightening feeling of unease settling in her chest. Rachel had observed Tyler's subtle prejudice before, particularly against students of color, including her own daughter. He never expressed outright racist remarks, but his tone, his stare, and the way he treated those students left no room for doubt. White parents might dismiss it, yet Rachel felt the sharp sting of unfairness deeply. Nearby, one parent leaned in to whisper to another, "Coach Graham is demanding, but his students earn their belts faster than anywhere else." The other parent responded softly, a hint of uncertainty in their voice. "That may be true, but my child came home saying he always gets singled out compared to the white students." Rachel listened quietly, her chest tightening with emotion. She was aware that prejudice was widespread around her, but each time she encountered it personally, it felt like a new wound. Mia never complained, but Rachel knew her daughter had faced similar humiliations many times before. She glanced back at Tyler, a firm determination growing inside her. Someday she would no longer stand by and let this silent discrimination continue. She would have to confront it directly. But for now, she was simply here to pick up Mia and refuse to let this moment ruin her evening. "Mama, I'm finished," came Mia's bright voice, breaking into Rachel's thoughts. She walked over, sweat glistening on her forehead, but her smile remained intact. "Wonderful job, sweetheart," Rachel said warmly, tucking a damp lock of hair behind Mia's ear. "Let's go home. Tonight, I'll make your favorite meal." Mia wrapped her arms around her mother's arm, completely unaware of the look Tyler Graham threw their way. His expression was one of contempt, a subtle smirk curling on his lips as if he were silently mocking them. Although Rachel Johnson did not glance back, she felt that gaze like a challenge aimed directly at her. Taking a slow, steady breath, she promised herself she would not allow anyone to diminish the value of herself or her daughter. Yet as she led Mia out of the dojo, she remained unaware that a far more significant confrontation, one about honor and fairness, was waiting for her just beyond those doors. Upon leaving the dojo, Rachel still sensed Tyler's cold stare following her and Mia. She gave her daughter a quick sideways glance. Mia's eyes were still shining with innocence, as though she had not yet grasped the tension lingering in the air. Rachel exhaled gently and reminded herself to remain strong because she fully understood the unfairness Mia was unknowingly facing. After work today, Rachel had decided to arrive at the academy earlier than she normally would. She selected a quiet spot in a corner to observe her daughter's class discreetly. Rachel wanted to truly understand what was going on inside the dojo, especially how Tyler treated students of color. The session began with its usual buzz of energy. The sound of punches and determined shouts echoed throughout the space, but Rachel immediately sensed something was not right. At the center of the large blue mats, Tyler Graham, dressed in his spotless white GI and shining black belt, moved back and forth among the students, carefully watching their every move. His cold gaze swept over the young faces standing before him. "Jason, how many times must I tell you? Do that kick again this instant or wait there until the sun goes down?" Tyler's voice sliced through the quiet, his stare locked on a small black boy whose shoulders trembled under the strain. Jason's cheeks burned with embarrassment, yet he kept repeating the move. Rachel Johnson. Tyler's favoritism was obvious. Right next to Jason stood Evan, a white student trying the same kick but with much less skill. Still, Tyler casually patted Evan on the shoulder and whispered, "It is okay, Evan. Take your time. You will get it." A wave of resentment surged inside Rachel's chest. Around her, other parents whispered among themselves. The white mother sitting nearby appeared indifferent. Some even nodded approvingly at Tyler's harsh teaching style. They cared only that their children received praise and support, unaware of the humiliation being dealt to others. Meanwhile, in another corner, a few parents of color sat quietly, their faces tense with worry and anger. Rachel spotted Marissa, Jason's mother. The sorrow on her face was unmistakable as she witnessed her son being harshly reprimanded in public. Yet Marissa stayed silent, likely like Rachel, unwilling to attract attention or disturb her child's training. "Enough, Mia. What was that? You expect a test for your green belt next month with moves like that?" Tyler's sudden yell made Rachel jump and glance toward her daughter. Mia stood motionless, her eyes wide with shock after the harsh criticism from the coach she had worked so hard to impress. Disappointment flickered across her face, yet she gathered her strength, nodded determinedly, and attempted the kick once more. Rachel felt a sharp ache in her chest as she watched Mia's expression change from excitement to sorrow in an instant. She understood how tirelessly her daughter had practiced to prove her worth. However, to Tyler, it seemed that no amount of effort from Mia or any student of color could ever satisfy. The murmurs continued. People said, "Coach Tyler is tough, but that's how you improve quickly, right? If everyone is pampered, how can you distinguish the truly skilled from the others?" Each remark pierced Rachel's heart like a blade. She clenched her hand into a small fist beneath her jacket while observing Tyler's blatant favoritism. This was not just strict training. It was a deep-rooted prejudice that he made no real effort to conceal. "Come on, Mia. Stop wasting everyone's time," Tyler snapped, his patience running dangerously low. Rachel felt the urge to defend her daughter rising inside her, but she held herself back with reason. She reminded herself that Mia needed to develop resilience and learn to face pressure from people like Tyler. Still, Rachel knew she could not remain silent if this unfair treatment continued any longer. When the session finally concluded, Mia quietly packed her equipment. Her usual brightness dimmed. Rachel moved closer and gently wrapped her arms around her daughter's shoulders, offering comfort and strength. She remained silent, but her hug conveyed love and resilience as if to strengthen Mia's spirit. Before they departed, Rachel caught Tyler Graham's gaze once more. In that fleeting instant, she noticed pure contempt and scorn flash in his icy eyes. He offered a smirk that seemed to challenge her to respond. Rachel returned his look with quiet, steadfast determination. No trace of fear appeared. She promised herself then that she would take bold measures, not only for Mia, but for every innocent child forced to face such injustice time and again. This time, she was certain she would not stay silent any longer. At the following practice, Rachel and Mia walked into the dojo carrying a heavier burden than usual. What typically felt like familiar steps now seemed hesitant and strained. Although Mia said nothing, Rachel was well aware that Tyler Graham's harsh critique from the previous day still weighed on her daughter's heart. Mia's expression remained thoughtful, and Rachel gently tightened her hand, offering wordless support. "Don't worry too much, darling. Just give it your best," Rachel murmured. Yet she could not banish the uneasy feeling stirred by Tyler's unfair conduct. The dojo's atmosphere that day had a different tone. Students formed a large ring around the central mat. Parents either stood or sat along the edge, their faces showing both curiosity and expectation. In the very middle stood Tyler Graham, his spotless white GI sharply contrasting with his gleaming black belt. Every proud and arrogant move he made was visible to all. A certain energy emanated from him. "Hello, everyone," Tyler's cold voice resonated through the hall. "Today, I want to try something a bit different. We will perform a brief demonstration to clearly illustrate the difference between a skilled martial artist like myself and the novices out there." He paused, his gaze sweeping the circle with a calculating look that landed firmly on Rachel. A mocking, prideful smile spread across his lips as he pointed directly at her, his tone thick with contempt. "I believe we have the perfect volunteer. Miss Johnson, Mia's mother, who is always so dedicated to bringing her daughter here. But I suppose she has never thrown a punch in her entire life, correct?" A few students chuckled quietly, yet their laughter faded when they noticed the calm and serious look on Rachel's face. The dojo immediately fell silent. Mia stood close to her mother, her cheeks flushed with shame, her small hand trembling as she clung to Rachel's sleeve. "Mom, please," Mia whispered, concern clear in her voice. Tyler stepped closer, his mocking tone sharpening. "Do not worry so much, Mia. I promise to be gentle with your mother. I will show her and all of you exactly why martial arts are not for everyone, especially people like her." Rachel narrowed her eyes, fully sensing the bias in his words. Anger ignited inside her, but she forced herself to stay calm and composed. "Mr. Graham, I do not believe this is necessary. I am simply here to pick up my daughter, not to demonstrate." Tyler laughed bitterly, glancing around at the gathered students and parents as if he had just heard the most hilarious joke in the world. "Oh, of course, Miss Johnson. How could I ever trouble someone as busy as you? But I assumed it would be valuable for my students to witness true expertise firsthand." Some white parents snickered and nodded in agreement, unaware of his cruelty. Across the room, parents of color sat quietly, their expressions heavy with frustration, yet no one dared to voice a word. Rachel felt the weight of sympathetic and inquisitive glances burning into her. Her heart ached at the pain and helplessness in Mia's eyes, but she knew staying silent was no longer an option while injustice unfolded right before her daughter and the young students who looked up to Tyler's conduct. Taking a deep breath, she lifted her chin and locked eyes with Tyler, her determination unshaken. Her voice came out strong and clear. "Fine. If you want to prove something, I will not step back. But you should also be ready to realize not everyone is as weak and powerless as you seem to imagine." A stunned silence took over the dojo. Everyone stared at the woman they had always thought shy and reserved. Tyler hesitated, then exploded into a loud, arrogant laugh. Yet beneath his bluster, Rachel caught a flicker of unease and a silent challenge flickering in his gaze. "Oh, really, Miss Johnson? I hope you understand what you are stepping into. You would not want to humiliate yourself and your daughter anymore, would you?" Rachel held his gaze firmly, showing no sign of fear. She then turned to Mia, placing a comforting hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Do not worry, darling. Mommy knows exactly what she is doing." Looking into her mother's eyes, Mia tapped into that unseen source of bravery and nodded, even though her concern remained. Tyler Graham faced the circle again, a smug smile spreading across his face. His voice echoed with confidence yet coldness as he said, "All right, everyone. Prepare for a performance you will never forget. After today, you will all realize where real skill in martial arts lies and why amateurs will stay amateurs." Rachel gently squeezed Mia's hand, a quiet blaze of pride and resolve kindling deep inside her. Although the physical contest had not yet begun, the true battle for honor and fairness had been ongoing for quite some time. A heavy silence swept through the dojo following Tyler's taunting proclamation. Everyone's attention was locked on Rachel and Mia, as if anticipating what would come next. Rachel remained motionless, her stance upright and her deep brown eyes fixed on Tyler's face without a flicker of nervousness. Her unexpected composure briefly threw him off, but soon the familiar cocky grin returned to his lips. "Miss Johnson, what is this? Having a sudden change of heart?" Tyler stepped closer, his voice thick with sarcasm. "Or have you suddenly realized that confronting reality is more difficult than any fantasies you had imagined?" Nearby, a few white students struggled to suppress nervous laughter. In contrast, the students of color became silent, their worried, uneasy eyes fixed on Rachel and Mia. Mia tightly held her mother's sleeve, her small heart racing with confusion and fear. Noticing her daughter's distress, Rachel softly rested a hand on Mia's shoulder, rubbing it soothingly. Then she stepped forward, her gaze steady, yet determined as she faced Tyler. "Mr. Graham, if you want to hold a match like this, I have no objection, but there is one condition." Tyler raised one eyebrow, a sly smile appearing on his face as if he had just heard the most amusing joke. "A condition? I'm curious. Go on. What sort of condition could someone like you possibly suggest?" Rachel ignored his sneer. Taking a deep breath, she spoke gently but loud enough for every parent and student present to hear. "If you win, I will admit that I know nothing about martial arts, just as you claim. But if you lose," Rachel stressed each word, her stare becoming more challenging, "you must apologize openly in front of all the parents and students here for your disrespectful and racist behavior throughout this time." Her words lingered in the air, and the dojo fell utterly silent. The white parents standing near Tyler exchanged looks of shock and displeasure. Several people shook their heads, clearly unable to believe that a reserved woman like Rachel would dare to challenge a respected coach like Tyler Graham with such a request. At the same time, the parents of color started exchanging looks filled with admiration and newfound hope. Finally, someone had the bravery to confront the unfair treatment they and their children had faced for so long. Tyler hesitated for a moment, then erupted into a scornful laugh, his icy gaze locked onto Rachel as if she had just spoken the most ridiculous claim imaginable. "Apologize?" he scoffed. "Do you honestly think you can defeat me? Are you serious?" Rachel's face did not change. She stayed composed, unaffected by his ridicule. She calmly replied, "Yes, If you are truly as confident in your skills as you claim, accepting this challenge should not be an issue, right? A flicker of doubt appeared in Tyler's eyes, but he quickly masked it with a cocky grin. Spreading his arms toward the crowd, he said in a patronizing tone, "Fine, I will accept your condition. If I lose, which obviously will not happen, I will apologize to everyone here, even though I am not sure what for since I have done nothing wrong. But Miss Johnson, I suggest you get ready to hear that apology after this match." At his words, some white parents immediately voiced their support, laughing and nodding confidently, expecting an effortless win for Tyler. Meanwhile, several parents of color exchanged uneasy glances. She glanced quietly, hoping Rachel truly understood what she was about to face, even though many still questioned her. Mia stood close beside her mother, her small face marked by worry. She whispered with a trembling voice, "Are you certain, Mom? You do not have to go through with this." Rachel knelt down to meet her daughter's eyes, speaking gently but with resolve. "Sometimes we have no choice, my dear. I will be fine, and I'm confident this is the right path." Mia looked deeply into her mother's eyes and sensed the invisible courage she always admired. She nodded slightly, her anxious heartbeat easing just a little, despite the remaining fears. Then Tyler stepped confidently into the center of the circle and spoke to everyone present, his expression bright with assurance. "The match will happen right here tomorrow. Make sure you all come to watch. I promise it will be an unforgettable display." Rachel heard every word, though she kept her outward calm. Inside, a fierce fire of resolve and anger burned brightly. She understood this confrontation was more than a personal challenge. It was a struggle for honor and fairness, and this time, she would not be defeated. Later that evening, after returning home, Rachel sat alone by the living room window, her eyes reflective as she stared out at the quiet street slowly fading into darkness. The usual night sounds of the city felt distant now, blending with the endless flow of her thoughts. Mia had long been asleep, and this was the moment Rachel granted herself the courage to face the memories she had buried long ago. Tyler's mocking words still resonated sharply in her thoughts. Every sneer and derisive look sliced through Rachel's pride with the sharpness of a blade. Yet what hurt her the most was not the insult itself. It was the painful memories Tyler had accidentally revived from that dark period she had fought so hard to erase. It had been many years since she thought about that name. Silent Storm, the nickname that once sent tremors throughout the entire MMA community. Back then, she was known as Rachel Storm Williams, the young black fighter who had won the MMA World Championship 3 times consecutively. In the ring, she was renowned for her composed, cold, yet fiercely accurate technique. Opponents confessed that whenever Rachel stepped onto the mat, the atmosphere seemed to freeze, crushing their spirit even before the first bell sounded. However, now all that glory felt like a distant tale she had deliberately closed, like a book sealed shut forever. Rachel shut her eyes, inhaled deeply, and struggled to hold back the wave of emotions swelling inside her. The final image she possessed of her glorious past was not the crowd's roar or the feel of the championship belt. It was a tragic, tear-filled night marked by bitter cold rain, the evening before the most crucial match of her career, the one the entire MMA community had been eagerly anticipating. On that night, her younger brother Marcus Williams, who had always been her greatest supporter, called her right before the event. "I'm coming, sis. I will encourage you as always. Do not worry. You have this fight in the bag," he said with undeniable enthusiasm in his voice. That was the final phone call she ever received from him. Yet, Marcus never showed up that night. A terrible car crash on the slippery, rain-soaked road claimed her brother's life permanently. When Rachel found out the tragic news, the match had not even started. She collapsed in the locker room as her energy and determination vanished instantly. She refused to enter the ring and shut out any sympathy offered. All she could experience was a boundless void and an overwhelming guilt that would haunt her forever. Following Marcus's funeral, Rachel declared her retirement and quit MMA entirely despite the desperate appeals from teammates, coaches, and supporters. The ring had become unbearable, a place filled with painful memories impossible to shake. Rachel left her previous hometown, changed her last name from Williams to Johnson, and relocated, intent on building a new life from scratch. She kept her true background secret from everyone. She only wished to live like a normal woman, a single mother dedicated to shielding Mia from harm and the dark history she had endured herself. However, now Tyler Graham had stirred something inside her she had long suppressed. Rachel opened her eyes, determination firm in her gaze. She understood she could no longer remain in hiding, not only for her own dignity but for Mia, and for every student of color who had faced injustice and disdain, just as she had experienced before. Slowly, Rachel stood up and went to her wardrobe, pulling open the bottom drawer. Beneath layers of worn clothes rested her old silver and black mixed martial arts championship belt along with faded photos, haunting echoes of a past both triumphant and heartbreaking. She lifted the belt, her fingers gently tracing each mark and dent from those fierce fights long ago. Memories of Jason flooded her mind. However, instead of being overwhelmed by sadness this time, a fresh flame ignited deep inside her. "Jason, I am sorry I ran away for so many years," she whispered, her voice quivering with resolve. "But I promise that now I will not retreat. I will stand and fight for you, for Mia, and for the justice we both believed in." Rachel carefully placed the belt back in the drawer and closed it with a sense of finality. Her eyes had transformed completely, no longer those of a silent, subdued woman, but of a fierce warrior. The quiet storm of the past had returned, this time demanding the respect and justice she and so many others deserved. Rachel was aware that tomorrow's match against Tyler Graham was much more than a personal contest. It was the most crucial battle of her life, one for justice, for honor, and for the cherished memory of her dear brother. This time, she was certain she would not be defeated. The following afternoon, the fading sunlight poured through the expansive windows, casting a gentle glow across the training area in Master Kim's martial arts school. The mood was unlike any other day. Every inch of the space was filled with both students and parents. They stood side by side, their eyes shining with a blend of curiosity and eager expectation, all directed toward the center of the mat where Tyler Graham stood, prepared for a demonstration he believed would be a decisive win. Rachel stepped onto the mat with composed confidence, dressed in her typical loose shirt and plain sweatpants. She gathered her curly hair into a tidy ponytail at the backs of her neck, her expression showing no sign of anxiety. Silence descended over the crowd as they all observed the woman whom they thought was about to face the most uneven challenge of her life. Tyler fixed her with a chilly, mocking glance and allowed a smug grin to spread across his face. The black belt instructor walked calmly to the ring's center and lifted his hand to call for quiet. "Welcome to this special match," he declared, his voice steady and strong. "As promised, I will demonstrate the clear difference between a skilled martial artist and an average person with no fighting experience." His gaze swept over the crowd, pride glowing from his assured smile. "Miss Johnson," Tyler announced, "are you prepared, or do you want to reconsider at the last moment?" Rachel faced his challenge with a calm nod, her gaze steady and unwavering. She said nothing, silently confirming she was prepared. Tyler gave an exaggerated shrug, turning back to the audience with a teasing grin. "Very well. Since you are confident, let's begin. I promise to be gentle so you will not get hurt." "I am a gentleman after all," he said. Some white students chuckled quietly, creating a tense atmosphere around Rachel. Yet she stayed still, composed, and ready. Without delay, Tyler assumed a defensive posture and started a sequence of high, flashy kicks, each stopping just inches from Rachel's body, intentionally showing off his precision and control. A scattered round of applause came from the white students and parents, while Rachel received looks filled with pity and ridicule as if it was evident she had made a serious misjudgment by accepting the challenge. "You see," Tyler declared loudly after each elaborate kick, "Miss Johnson clearly lacks any martial arts ability. I hope today she and everyone watching grasps what genuine discipline training really means." Mia stood near the edge of the mat, her heart racing wildly, small hands clenched tightly. She stared at her mother, fear written all over her face, even though Rachel had earlier encouraged her to have faith in her. Rachel was unshaken by Tyler's arrogant performance. She simply adjusted her stance, taking slight, careful steps to evade each strike with just enough movement to remain completely safe from his attacks. Her composed accuracy clearly irritated Tyler. His smile disappeared, replaced by a flash of annoyance. He understood that Rachel's steady demeanor was a silent provocation, as if she was daring him to land a strike. "Aren't you going to respond?" he snapped, delivering a sharper kick that glanced past her shoulder, this time with real intent rather than mere showmanship. Remaining silent, Rachel's dark eyes stayed fixed on his face without flinching. At last, her voice broke through, calm yet tinged with quiet defiance. "I thought this was meant to be a professional display. I'm just waiting for you to reveal all you've got." Her words caused murmurs among the onlookers. Rage ignited in Tyler's gaze. He could not believe this understated woman without any fighting background dared to challenge him openly. He stepped back and took a deep breath to regain control. He refused to lose his temper before the crowd, but his arrogance made it impossible to accept Rachel's calm but teasing stare. "Miss Johnson, if you feel that sure of yourself, perhaps I no longer need to hold back," he growled, fury blazing in his eyes. His next series of attacks came with increased speed and power, every strike aimed to shatter her guard. Rachel moved seamlessly through each assault, dodging with elegant, razor-sharp accuracy, her movements mere inches away from his fists or feet. The parents and students began to sense something unusual. Initially, they thought her escapes were luck, but now they understood. Every dodge was performed with incredible precision. The more Tyler launched his attacks, the angrier he became, his breath growing uneven. He couldn't grasp how such an ordinary woman could stay so composed and exact against every strike he delivered. What angered him the most was her unwavering tranquility, as if all the techniques he had perfected over many years were merely child's play to her. "Do you believe endlessly dodging will secure your victory?" Tyler growled through clenched teeth, his voice heavy with frustration. Rachel responded with silence. She simply met his stare with chilling calmness in her eyes. Yet inside, she was ready to teach him and every observer a hard lesson. This was far more than a simple sparring session. It was the moment for his pride and bias to be challenged. The dojo was filled with thick tension and a profound silence. Tyler, completely losing patience, launched a fierce flurry of kicks and punches. No longer restraining himself with the earlier showmanship, his blows were fueled by pure anger and resentment, aimed directly at Rachel, as if trying to break the infuriating calm on her face. Rachel stood firm, but something essential had changed. She was not the weak, commonplace woman everyone expected to be easily overcome. Each slight movement and dodge she executed was unbelievably accurate and smooth, as if she had foresaw every strike long before it came. Tyler threw a heavy, straight punch, but instantly she leaned aside, the back of her head narrowly escaping the blow. His fist whooshed past her shoulder by mere inches. The onlookers held their breath, amazed by her effortless yet precise reaction. Tyler instantly responded with a lightning-fast roundhouse kick, but once again, Rachel shifted back just one step, allowing his foot to slice through nothing but air. The dojo's energy shifted instantly. The teasing whispers vanished, replaced by stunned and puzzled murmurs from both students and parents. "What in the world is going on?" a nearby white parent whispered, eyes wide as she observed Rachel. How is she doing that? Across the mat, Marissa, Jason's mother, long used to seeing her son bullied by Tyler, could not hide her admiration. She murmured loud enough for others close by to hear, "My goodness, she is nothing like we expected." Rachel kept dodging Tyler's furious attacks flawlessly, moving with elegance but never rushing or losing control. Every small sidestep, every lean or duck was perfectly timed, causing Tyler's most powerful strikes to miss just by a tiny margin. Tyler's confidence started to crumble. He became visibly shaken, his breathing quickened, and anger and frustration stained his face. His eyes blazed with confusion and fury. He could not understand how an ordinary woman like Rachel could so easily avoid his strongest and most accurate moves. "What trick are you pulling, Rachel?" Tyler snapped sharply, his voice filled with anger. "Are you just going to keep dodging forever? Are you scared to confront me?" Rachel responded without a word. She simply fixed him with a stare, colder and more commanding than ever before. It was the very same look that used to send the most elite MMA fighters around the world into a state of fear. This was the mark of the silent storm. After years of quiet rest, the silent tempest had come back. Rachel was fully aware of her actions. Every dodge she made was more than just a defensive move. It was a deliberate message to Tyler and the onlookers that true strength does not come from arrogance or disdain. At the boundary of the mat, Mia's eyes widened in amazement as she observed her mother's incredible demonstration. She could barely believe that the gentle, calm woman she knew was now revealing such extraordinary martial skills. Her heartbeat quickened, not due to fear, but because of pride and a firm faith in her mother's abilities. "I cannot believe it. She must have undergone training," another parent remarked, their voice a mix of disbelief and admiration. "No one could move with such precision without rigorous practice." A group of colored students near Mia broke into nervous yet excited smiles. For the first time, they witnessed Tyler, their unfair teacher, becoming unsettled and thrown off balance. Feeling the atmosphere shift, Tyler became even more desperate. He charged ahead with increased speed and force, delivering blows so intense that missing a target made him lose his footing, causing him to falter. He recognized that his own fury had ruined his formerly flawless technique, making it erratic and imprecise. Yet Rachel remained firm, perfectly composed, as, although Tyler's furious strikes were nothing but empty air, she had yet to launch a single counterattack. Her quiet, cold demeanor was enough to send chills through everyone in the dojo. Across the room, the spectators' expressions began to change. No longer feeling pity or mocking Rachel, they now observed her with curiosity, astonishment, and growing admiration. Even those who had previously cheered for Tyler fell silent, watching every flawless move of Rachel with stunned respect. Rachel noticed this shift but understood it was only the start. She remained patient and calm until Tyler and the others realized what she had long known. True power does not reside in arrogance or scorn, but in humility, steadfast determination, and the refusal to surrender under any pressure. The energy in the dojo was intense, thick with tension and quietness, as if a tightly stretched string ready to snap. Tyler, completely losing patience, launched a fierce series of kicks and punches, abandoning the earlier gentle showmanship. His attacks were filled with raw fury and desperation, each blow aimed to break the infuriating composure on Rachel's face. Rachel stayed perfectly still, but something fundamental had changed. She was no longer the weak, ordinary woman everyone expected to be easily overcome. Every subtle dodge and lean she made was carried out with remarkable precision and elegance, as if she had already predicted each strike before it even arrived. Tyler swung a forceful, straight punch toward her. However, in the blink of an eye, she shifted to the side, his fist barely missing her shoulder by a few inches. Those watching gasped at her remarkable and precise reaction. Without hesitation, Tyler launched a rapid roundhouse kick, but Rachel simply stepped back with calm precision, allowing his foot to cut through the empty air. Instantly, the crowd's demeanor changed. The earlier snickers and mocking whispers were replaced by quiet murmurs of bewilderment from both students and parents. A nearby white parent whispered, eyes wide, "What is happening? How can she move like that?" Across the mat, Marissa, Jason's mother, who had long witnessed her son being targeted by Tyler, could not conceal her admiration. She quietly murmured loud enough for others to hear, "She is nothing like the image we had in mind." Rachel kept avoiding Tyler's relentless attack flawlessly, exhibiting calm mastery instead of panic. Every slight step to the side and each subtle tilt of her head was timed perfectly, causing his strongest strikes to miss by a wide margin. Tyler's assurance began to erode visibly. His breathing became heavy and his face reddened with anger and frustration. His eyes burned with disbelief. "How can an ordinary woman perform such effortless dodges against my deadliest attacks?" he barked, his voice heavy with fury. "What are you trying to prove, Rachel? Will you just keep evading like a coward? Are you scared to confront me?" Rachel did not respond at all. Instead, she locked eyes with him, her gaze unyielding and sharp. It was the same stare that had once stopped the world's best MMA fighters dead in their tracks. This was the Silent Storm's signature look. The silent tempest had returned at last. She moved with purpose. Every precise dodge was more than just defense. It sent a clear signal to Tyler and everyone watching. True strength is never found in arrogance or disdain. At the ring's edge, the students of color exchanged glances filled with hope and support. What began as hesitant grew into genuine encouragement, with some softly applauding. Their quiet claps resounded with solidarity, a force Rachel could sense even through the roaring crowd. Noticing the change, Tyler's anger surged. He stopped and scanned the audience with a piercing stare. "Who just clapped? Do you all take pleasure in cheering for weakness, or are you just enjoying my humiliation?" he snapped. No one answered, but his eyes locked on the defiant faces, and the insult went deep. Turning sharply back to Rachel, his expression contorted with fury. "I'm done holding back, Rachel," he hissed through clenched teeth. "I will make you regret ever challenging me." Rachel stood her ground without a hint of fear or hesitation. She met his rage with the same unwavering calm that had unsettled him before. "Go ahead," she said quietly, her tone steady but filled with power. "But remember the rules we set." Her words were like fuel to the fire. In a burst of uncontrolled fury, Tyler rushed forward. With fiercer punches and kicks than ever before, his technique began to weaken in his blind fury. Each blow grew uncontrolled and far-reaching. Rachel skillfully dodged every strike with subtle, precise movements, causing him to lose balance and falter. The atmosphere in the dojo thickened with tension. Not a single person dared to make a sound. All eyes were on Rachel, filled with a mixture of disbelief, admiration, and deepening respect. It became clear to everyone that she had not launched a single counterattack, yet she completely dominated the fight in a way nobody could comprehend. Tyler's anxiety intensified. He breathed heavily, sweat dripping down his forehead. Desperation and rage burned fiercely in his eyes. He could not understand how a seemingly unremarkable woman like Rachel could overpower him so thoroughly. Rachel realized that Tyler had reached his limit. She understood the moment had arrived to finish the match, not through aggression but with calmness, dignity, and unwavering determination. Her intention was to prove to everyone that true power is never rooted in arrogance or disdain, and that justice triumphs no matter how intense the battle becomes. She took a deep breath, steadying herself for the final technique she believed would forever alter Tyler's and everyone else's perception of genuine strength. Recognizing Tyler's breakdown was at its peak, Rachel knew the decisive moment had come. She stood motionless in the dojo, proud and upright, her eyes composed yet steadfast, as if she had anticipated this result all along. Her remarkable composure spoke volumes, stood in sharp contrast to the turmoil raging inside Tyler Graham. Tyler paused, gasping for air, his face flushed with both rage and shame, as if he was on the verge of exploding. He straightened his posture, his fists tightly clenched, and his whole body shook with an intense, uncontrollable fury. His gaze locked firmly on Rachel Johnson, filled with animosity and deep bitterness. All his usual pride and self-assurance had vanished, replaced by raw anger and an urgent need to prove he remained the strongest and undeniably right. "I'm ending this right now," Tyler shouted, his voice booming ominously throughout the dojo. Without a second thought, he lunged at Rachel with incredible speed and force, unleashing his famous spinning kick. This was the technique he cherished most, the one that had caused past adversaries to surrender immediately. He delivered the strike with every ounce of strength and last-ditch desperation he could gather. And for a moment, the dojo seemed to freeze as all eyes followed his motion. Rachel observed Tyler's move with perfect precision. She noticed the awkwardness, the loss of control, and the desperation behind his final attack. She knew that his anger had led him to make the cardinal mistake in martial arts, losing his inner calm and balance. Just as the powerful kick was about to connect, Rachel acted. For the first time since the bout started, she initiated a counterattack, though not the fierce blow Tyler expected. Instead, she simply shifted sideways with flawless timing, and in one smooth motion. With a fluid motion, she extended her hand and lightly touched the incoming leg. The delicate movement resembled a feather's touch, yet immediately disrupted Tyler's equilibrium. He lost control midair, spun awkwardly, and thudded heavily onto the mat, leaving the entire room in stunned silence. The dojo fell utterly quiet. No breaths were drawn, no murmurs arose, only wide-eyed disbelief as everyone struggled to comprehend the sudden turn of events. Tyler remained still for several seconds, his eyes filled with shock and confusion. Just moments before, he had been convinced of his triumph. Now he lay defeated by a single effortless technique from the woman he had always underestimated. The spectators, including students and parents, exchanged glances full of astonishment as if witnessing something unbelievable. Those who had always relied on Tyler's unquestioned superiority were now frozen, unable to utter a single word. Among the students of color, including Mia, there was a brief pause before recognition of the incredible feat spread. Their hearts swelled with joy, relief, and an overwhelming sense of pride. Their admiration for Rachel grew into deep respect and thankfulness. Tyler struggled to push himself up on one hand, trembling not from pain but evident humiliation. His eyes met many questioning stares that only intensified his shame. "No, this cannot be," he stammered, voice thick with panic and disbelief. He refused to accept that the modest, unassuming woman he once mocked had defeated him with such elegance. Rachel approached him with calm assurance, her steps deliberate and steady. Gazing down at him with composed eyes, she spoke softly, yet with conviction. "Tyler, I want you to realize that real strength is not about flashy moves, brute force, or arrogance. Genuine strength comes from humility, respect for others, and self-control." Tyler fell into silence, his face drained of color, his eyes vacant. He could not meet Rachel's gaze because within him grew a painful recognition of his total defeat. Then the crowd began to applaud gently, at first hesitant, then growing louder until it became a triumphant cheer that filled the dojo. They honored Rachel not only for winning, but for imparting a profound lesson on bravery, determination, and fairness. Rachel turned to see Mia standing nearby, tears of pride and emotion glistening in her eyes. She gave her daughter a soft, comforting smile, letting her know everything would be fine, and that she would always be strong enough to defend Mia and anyone else facing injustice or bias in life. The dojo settled into a deep silence, every gaze fixed on Tyler as he tried to push himself up with his hands, struggling to stand, only to stumble again. His face was pale, like someone suddenly awakened from a beautiful dream, forced to face a harsh truth he had long avoided. Rachel remained where she was, her eyes steady and firm on Tyler. There was no hatred or smugness in her look. Instead, there was a quiet, respectful seriousness, an acknowledgement of the very error he had just committed. At last, Tyler managed to lift himself up, his legs trembling and his eyes fixed blankly on the familiar faces he had once ignored or looked down upon. Those same people now regarded him with astonishment and disapproval. Rachel moved forward slightly, maintaining just enough space. Then she spoke, her tone calm yet resolute, loud enough for all to hear. "Tyler, what you have just gone through is a lesson you must always remember. Never judge anyone by their appearance or the color of their skin." Her words struck sharply, not to hurt, but to ignite a profound awareness inside him. They echoed throughout the dojo, resonating in every mind, stilling the room once again. Some students, particularly those of color who had long suffered under Tyler's bias, began to applaud, hesitantly at first, then with growing assurance. Their clapping grew into a powerful ovation, a clear support of Rachel's message, and a strong rejection of Tyler's arrogance and prejudice. Tyler stood frozen amid the applause, unable to grasp what he was witnessing and hearing. For the first time, he felt what it was like to be the target of mockery and contempt, the harsh, degrading sensation he had once imposed on others. Mia stood next to her mother, pride and deep feeling lighting her eyes. Tears slid silently down her cheeks, no longer tears of pain, but of something more hopeful. Instead of fear, there were tears of unwavering confidence and limitless pride. Tyler attempted to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. His usual arrogance and certainty had vanished, replaced by a raw vulnerability he could no longer hide. "I did not mean to," he muttered, a feeble excuse that even he realized was pointless now. Rachel looked straight into his eyes, her voice softer, yet still sincere. "Tyler, no one is born flawless, but everyone deserves respect and fair treatment. Your strength and skills mean nothing if they are not paired with humility and respect for others." Her sincere words forced him to lower his gaze, overwhelmed by shame. There was no avoiding the truth he had ignored for so long. He had been completely wrong. The atmosphere in the dojo lightened, the heavy tension fading now that Tyler had confronted his devastating loss and accepted a painful reality. Some parents and students who had remained distant now moved closer, their faces gentler, offering him a chance to learn and make things right. Rachel noticed this change and felt thankful because sometimes a small challenge like this can teach more than 1,000 lessons. For her, today's fight was not about proving who was stronger. It was about sending a powerful message: equality, self-respect, and human dignity. At last, Tyler raised his head. His eyes no longer showed defiance or bitterness, but were filled with regret and shame. He met Rachel's gaze and with great effort found the words he needed. "Rachel Johnson, I apologize." Silence returned, this time soft and forgiving. Everyone present, including those whom Tyler Graham had wronged, sensed the genuine remorse in his words. Rachel gave a gentle nod accompanied by a meaningful, compassionate smile. No more words were needed. She understood that from this moment forward, Tyler had embarked on learning life's most essential lesson, one about humility, justice, and the real strength of a heart that values and cares for others. In the quiet calm following Tyler's sincere apology, Mia's shaky, emotional voice suddenly broke the stillness, capturing everyone's attention in the dojo. "Mom, you are the silent storm. Rachel Johnson, a 3-time MMA world champion." Her declaration overflowed with uncontrollable pride, her voice trembling with feeling. Every eye shifted toward the young girl, disbelief evident on each face. Nobody, not even Tyler, could have anticipated that Mia's statement was true. Silence fell once more before a wave of whispers, stunned curiosity and amazement spread among the students and parents. Several people hastily pulled out their phones, hands trembling as they searched for Rachel Johnson's silent storm online, eager to verify what Mia had just shared. Within moments, gasps and murmurs of astonishment filled the dojo as old news articles and famous fight clips appeared on their screens. There she stood, Rachel, holding her championship belt, her cold, commanding gaze unmistakable. All uncertainty disappeared immediately. A young male student, eyes filled with disbelief, whispered loudly enough for others to overhear, "Oh my goodness, she truly is the famous Silent Storm. I cannot believe we have been standing beside an MMA champion this entire time without realizing it." The doubtful, condescending, or pitying expressions they had shown before changed completely into profound admiration and wonder. Even parents who had first appeared indifferent or quietly supported Tyler Graham's arrogance bowed their heads quietly, acknowledging their error in judging someone by looks or skin color. In a corner, Marissa, Jason's mother, observed Rachel Johnson with tears of pride and thankfulness welling up. She brushed them away, feeling as if a long-standing weight of injustice had finally been lifted. Tyler remained motionless, head lowered, unable to hold Rachel's eyes. He had imagined every possible encounter with this woman, but never expected to be shattered by the very MMA icon he had only known by reputation. Now his pride and bias were broken, and the only thing left for him was to listen and accept the tough lesson fate had brought. A young student of color, who had frequently been harshly judged by Tyler, suddenly stood up, excitement clear in his voice as he spoke to everyone. "We actually have a true MMA legend right here in this gym. This was not just a fight. It was the most powerful lesson in dignity and equality I've ever witnessed." Applause erupted again, louder this time, louder and more sincere than ever before. The applause swept through the dojo like a powerful wave of unity. Everyone's gaze was fixed on Rachel, now filled with renewed admiration. She was not merely the victor of a contest. She had become a mentor who taught a profound lesson about honor and what truly defines a person's worth. Rachel responded with a gentle and gracious smile, lowering her head in appreciation toward the applauding crowd, fully aware that this triumph belonged not just to her, but to all those who had been undervalued or unfairly judged because of their looks or skin tone. Turning to Mia, who stood with tears in her eyes yet radiated pride, Rachel stepped forward and enveloped her daughter in a warm embrace. She whispered softly, "Thank you, Mia. Thank you for giving me the courage to defend the principles I hold dear." Mia returned the hug tightly, her voice thick with feeling as she said, "You have always been the greatest hero in my heart. I am so proud to call myself your daughter." Tyler quietly withdrew, his gaze no longer filled with anger but instead with regret and a newfound understanding. For the first time, he grasped the vital lesson he had long ignored, that genuine strength comes from humility and respect for others. Other parents and students approached Rachel, eager to express their gratitude and admiration for the brave and determined woman who had deeply transformed their outlook. The dojo's atmosphere shifted from mere admiration of a champion's skill to one filled with sincere empathy, understanding, and profound respect for her steadfast bravery and integrity. Standing among them, Rachel realized her life had turned a significant page. This chapter would no longer hide her painful history, but instead provide an opportunity to inspire others by promoting a message of self-worth, equality, and the lasting strength of a kind heart. Amidst the heartfelt applause and reverent looks aimed at Rachel, Tyler remained motionless in a corner, his gaze fixed on the ground, as an intense struggle involving shame and regret raged within him. After all those years dominating this dojo, for the first time, Tyler genuinely experienced the isolation and powerlessness he had caused to so many. The dojo gradually fell silent as everyone awaited the next movement. Then Tyler advanced with slow, purposeful steps, as if battling his own pride, fighting between honor and sincere remorse. Standing before Rachel, he finally raised his head and looked at her with a level of sorrow no one had ever witnessed from him before. The usual arrogance vanished, replaced by fatigue and complete humiliation. Taking a trembling breath, his voice shook but was clear enough for all to hear as he began. "I want to say I am truly sorry, Miss Johnson. I was wrong. I allowed my pride and prejudices to blind me, and I treated many of you here unfairly. I never understood how deeply my words and actions could hurt others." He took a moment to compose himself before continuing with a voice heavy with emotion. "Today, I have discovered the most important lesson, one I should have realized long ago. I once believed martial arts were solely about power and defeating opponents, but I was completely wrong. I sincerely regret not showing respect to you and so many other students, all because of my own misguided prejudices." His genuine apology brought complete silence to the dojo. Even those he had wronged looked at him with softer expressions, realizing this was a heartfelt apology born from the toughest experience of his life. Rachel observed him with quiet kindness and nodded slowly. She responded, "I forgive you, Tyler. None of us is flawless, but what truly matters is recognizing when we are wrong and having the bravery to make things right." Turning to address everyone in the dojo, her voice steady yet tender, she said, "I want each of you to understand that martial arts is never about conquering or belittling others. True martial arts encourages respect, humility, and inner strength. We train not to show who is stronger, but to develop self-discipline, maintain dignity, and stay calm, even when faced with adversity or unfairness." She allowed her message to settle, scanning the room as she highlighted every point. "Above all, remember no one has the right to judge or belittle another person because of their looks, skin tone, or background. Martial arts instills the belief that every individual merits respect and just treatment." Her powerful message echoed throughout the dojo, touching every soul present. Students and parents remained in quiet contemplation, absorbing the deep lesson they had experienced directly. Several younger students bowed their heads, tears welling in their eyes as they thought about moments when they had faced unfairness or had been unfair in judging others. Parents who once appeared indifferent or even accepted discrimination now exchanged looks, filled with guilt and newfound understanding. Marissa moved forward quietly and placed her hand on Rachel Johnson's shoulder, speaking softly but clearly enough for everyone to hear. "Thank you, Rachel. Today you have taught us an invaluable lesson we will always remember." Then a young student of color spoke up, voice shaky but honest. "From now on, we will never allow anyone to suffer injustice or bias again. I promise to always keep this lesson close and treat everyone with sincere respect." Rachel looked over the eager faces before her heart swelling with an emotion she could not fully describe. She realized that today's triumph was more than just winning a match. It marked the beginning of enduring positive change in the minds and behaviors of everyone in the room. Tyler Graham stayed motionless, absorbing Rachel and the other students' sincere words, each serving as a gentle yet powerful reminder of painful truths he needed to face about himself. He looked up again, locking eyes with Rachel, and with a steady yet heartfelt tone said, "Thank you, Rachel. You did not just defeat me in the match today. You have given me a priceless lesson that I will hold on to for the rest of my life. I assure you and everyone here that I will change, and I will never allow pride or bias to control me again." His genuine words sparked a strong wave of agreement among the students and parents, who applauded not only Rachel's bravery, but also Tyler Graham's courage in admitting and confronting his errors. Rachel scanned the dojo one final time, feeling lighter than ever before. She realized that today she had accomplished something far greater than winning any championship. She had delivered a long-lasting, transformative message about humility, respect, and true equality for everyone. From that moment forward, a surge of positive transformation swept through every part of Master Kim's martial arts school. Tyler's sincere apology was more than just empty talk. It represented a crucial turning point that opened a new chapter for all involved. Formerly known for his sometimes excessively rigid discipline and apparent bias, Tyler completely changed his teaching philosophy. No longer did he judge students by their skin tone or outward appearance. Instead, he paid close attention to helping each individual grow to the fullest extent of their talents and character. His mindset became open and modest, and most importantly, he made it a point to remind the students absorbed the priceless lesson he had learned from Rachel. Tyler even made it a priority to explore the history and lived realities of people of color to gain a deeper understanding of the injustices they faced. This effort not only made him a more empathetic and considerate teacher, but also helped him restore the trust and admiration he had lost among students and parents alike. Rachel quickly became a beacon of motivation, not only for her peers at the academy but also for the broader community. Whenever she showed up at the dojo accompanied by Mia, she received heartfelt respect, especially from young students of color who rediscovered faith in their own abilities and in the principles of perseverance, bravery, and justice. And parents who previously ignored or were unaware of bias issues started engaging in meaningful dialogues with their children about the significance of respect and equality. They did more than just change their views. They enthusiastically participated in community gatherings and projects designed to promote harmony and understanding among diverse ethnic groups. Master Kim's Academy soon earned a reputation not only for its exceptional martial arts skills and championship wins, but also as an institution that genuinely cultivates humility, mutual respect, and the inherent value of every person. For many young learners, especially those of color who once hesitated to enter, the academy became a second home where they could truly belong. They felt inspired to share their thoughts openly without fear of bias. Tyler even arranged special discussion panels with Rachel, inviting her to talk about her personal path, how she overcame discrimination, and the valuable insights she gained throughout her remarkable career. These conversations attracted large groups of parents and students who all left with the realization that genuine power does not come from overpowering others, but from showing kindness and sincere respect. Rachel always emphasized that the event was not simply about her beating Tyler. It was about everyone conquering their own biases, unfairness, and mistaken beliefs. Mia, who had observed her mother's struggles up close, now stood proudly beside her, actively promoting the ideals of equality and self-worth to her peers. That evening, as Rachel and Mia got ready to exit the dojo after an emotionally charged interaction with the students, they walked down the same hallway where the pivotal match had occurred. Rachel paused and looked back at the room where it all started, offering a soft smile. "What are you thinking about, Mom?" Mia asked, holding her mother's hand tightly. Rachel gently brushed back her daughter's hair, her eyes warm yet meaningful. "I am realizing that everything we do, every challenge we face, means less than how we treat one another. Sweetheart, real strength is not about boasting. It exists in our actions toward others. Our hearts and the way we treat each other are what truly matter. Always keep that in mind." Mia looked deeply into her mother's eyes and nodded, her voice filled with emotion. "I promise I will always remember, Mom, and I will strive to be as strong as you." Rachel hugged Mia tightly, sensing the warmth and strength of her daughter's love. Together they stepped out of the dojo under the gentle light of the setting sun. Every step they took was full of confidence and pride as they moved toward a future where they would continue spreading messages of equality and bravery to everyone they met. As the two faded along the path, Tyler stayed behind at the entrance of the dojo, silently watching their silhouettes disappear. Inside him, a new feeling began to grow. No longer was there shame or bitterness, only sincere appreciation. He understood that even though that match was painful, it was exactly what rescued him from his arrogance and bias, guiding him to become a better person. The final beams of sunlight poured through the dojo's windows, brightening the room and reminding all present of a lesson more valuable than any triumph. Real strength is not defined by how we present ourselves, but by the kindness within our hearts and how we treat others. Rachel Johnson's story is more than just a martial arts contest. It is a priceless teaching about humility, respect, and the true might of the heart. Have you ever seen or felt something similar in your life? Have your first assumptions ever been entirely changed when the reality was revealed? Tell us about your experience in the comments section below. If you felt moved by this story, please give the video a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones to help spread this impactful message. Also, make sure to subscribe so you never miss any more uplifting stories we have in store for you. We appreciate you being here with us.